The city of Chicago is built upon a grid system, effectively creating a series of blocks with streets that run north, south, east, and west. As an Australian, this is completely new to me, and even with the constant reminders from Chicagoans telling me how easy it is to learn this system, it's going to take me a while. So recently, after walking 4 blocks in the wrong direction, I decided that maybe if I learnt the history of the grid system and how it came to be, I'd be better equipped to master it. So here's what I learned. We need to go back to the 1830s, when James Thompson, a surveyor, was tasked with drafting the first plots of land in Chicago to be sold. He laid out straight streets uniformly, 66 feet wide, with alleys 16 feet wide bisecting each block. And the rest of Chicago grew accordingly. When you travel to New York and you see piles of rubbish on the side of the street, you can thank Thompson for the Chicago alleyway. The area that he mapped was quite small, as was the city of Chicago, which was only 10.6 square miles when it was first incorporated in 1837. By the end of the 19th century, Chicago grew by almost 1,700%. This began with the annexations of townships around the city, as they were attracted to the services that the city could provide to its residents. The biggest of which happened in 1889, when the townships of Lakeview, Jefferson, Lake, and Hyde Park were incorporated into the city. With every new annexation included an already established township with street names and numbers. It became mayhem. In 1901, there was 13 Washington streets, 13 called Center, and 14 called Park. We had 9 Forest streets, 9 Sheridan streets, and 10 Oak streets. There was even 5 named after the former US Vice President Colfax. It got so bad in Chicago that the post office refused to deliver mail to the newly annexed cities. The city slowly began reducing the number of duplicated street names. This did little to solve the problem, as they had no real vision or plan. This is where we meet Edward Brennan, a 35-year-old bill collector who worked in the Loop and had nothing to do with city policy. In 1901, he wrote to the city with a plan to change the city's street numbering system to make it more rational. He proposed to change the names and numbers of the streets so that it would be easier for locals and tourists to get around the city. He proposed changing the names of over 1,000 streets and ensured that they include the cardinal direction of which they ran. He also chose State and Madison as a 0-0 point, which all addresses would be centered around. Even number addresses would always be on the west and north sides of the street, with odd numbers on the east and south sides. Edward Brennan was just a citizen. The only way he could make his plan a reality was with constant perseverance. He advocated relentlessly for the plan, and in 1908, after alterations, improvements, and many years of debate, the city of Chicago adopted the plan. It was a huge undertaking. Nearly every household in Chicago would have a change of address. The changes caused a lot of confusion, but it was only temporary, and in the long run, it addressed the long-term problems which Chicago was struggling with. Brennan's work never stopped, and for his 35 years of campaigning, it is said that he attended over 600 city hall meetings, and he never earned a single dollar for all the work that he did. While Edward Brennan died January 10th, 1942, his work lives on throughout the city. It may take me a little longer to understand the grid system, and I feel like getting lost is a great way to discover new things in Chicago, but it's little stories like this in Chicago's history that make me want to be a better Chicagoan, and I hope you feel the same way too.